There are many Azure data centers around the world, connected by over 175,000 miles of fiber and subsea cable that make up the Azure global infrastructure. Now, the big question you need to answer is, where are you going to deploy your workloads? My name is Eric Boyd. I am an Azure MVP, a Microsoft Regional Director, and the founder of ResponsiveX, where we help customers run workloads and develop applications in Azure. The Azure global infrastructure footprint is enormous and rapidly expanding, with new Azure data centers being built every 3 days. It can be intimidating to figure out where to deploy your workloads without an understanding of the terminology used to identify and segment the Azure infrastructure. In this video, I'm going to explain what terminology like geographies, regions, data centers, and availability zones mean. I will show you how you can visualize the Azure global infrastructure and find regions for your workloads. And I'll highlight the aspects you need to consider when selecting the regions for your workloads. Azure consists of more than 60 regions in geographies across the globe. An Azure geography is the topmost grouping of Azure infrastructure. It represents a discrete market containing at least one or more regions. An Azure geography preserves data residency and compliance boundaries, allowing customers with data residency and compliance needs to keep their data and applications close. Geographies are fault tolerant and can withstand regional failures and outages. Examples of geographies include the United States, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, India, China, Germany, and more. Within an Azure geography, there are one or more Azure regions. An Azure region is a set of data centers connected by dedicated, low latency networking to provide predictable latency between them. Azure gives customers the flexibility to deploy workloads where they are needed by providing more global regions than any other cloud provider. Examples of regions in the United States geography include East US, East US 2, West US, West US 2, and several more. When you deploy resources in Azure, you deploy to the region you choose. Choosing a region or several regions for your solution is an important part of architecting your solution. You can explore the Azure global infrastructure by using the global infrastructure page on azure.com. Towards the top, you'll see a button labeled Explore the Globe. I'm going to click it, and we will be taken to the Microsoft Data Centers page, where we can explore and learn more about the Microsoft data centers. I'm going to click the Explore the Globe button in the upper right corner, and that will take us into the interactive globe, where we can get a guided tour of the building blocks of Azure. And we can explore the 60 plus Azure regions and the supporting global Azure infrastructure on our own. I will click the Legends section and select the infrastructure I want to see. I'm going to uncheck View All and check Regions. This will display only the regions on the globe. I'm now going to expand the region filters and select the criteria I'd like to use to filter the regions. I'll expand Availability Zones Presence and select Available. A list of regions are displayed matching my filter criteria. Within a region that has availability zones, there are several data centers that are isolated and independent, meaning they don't share things like power, cooling, networking, and physical space. That means if there is a disaster in a specific data center, but it was isolated to that data center, you have other data centers within that region that can take over and run the workloads. This gives you the ability to have single-digit millisecond failover within a region, which is a really nice high availability solution. When you are selecting the regions for your workloads, you want to consider a few things. First, where are your users for this specific workload? You'd like to provide the best experience for your users, and one way to help with that is to optimize the performance by reducing network latency. And to do that, you need to select a region that is close in proximity and network latency to your users. Second, you'll want to consider any compliance or data residency regulations that you must adhere to. For example, If you are required to keep your data within Germany and never to leave Germany, then you would need to select a region within the Germany geography. You can find more information about Azure's 100+ compliance offerings in the Azure compliance documentation on Microsoft Learn. Lastly, you'll want to select a region that has all the services you'll need for your solution. If we go back to Azure.com's global infrastructure page and click on Products by Region, this will take you to a page that lets you configure a matrix of service availability by regions. I'm going to select regions that I'm considering for my workload. I've selected Canada and the US. And then I can select the products that I need for my solution. I'm going to cheat and click on the Select All Products button, and this will populate a matrix of regions and service availability. This will help me decide which regions can support my workloads and which regions I should deploy my workloads into. Now, if your workload has users distributed across the globe, or your workload is extremely sensitive to outages and downtime beyond what the single region SLAs provide, you might also consider deploying your workloads into multiple regions around the globe. While the scale of the global Azure infrastructure is amazing, there are two other important aspects I want to highlight. First is Azure's commitment to security, compliance, and privacy. Microsoft invests over $1 billion annually in security R&D, with over 3,500 cybersecurity experts analyzing more than 8 trillion threat signals daily, using AI-driven intelligence tools to protect your solutions and data. This results in Azure being the trusted cloud for the largest enterprises and governments around the world. You can learn more about Trusted Azure Cloud on Azure.com. Second is Microsoft's focus on sustainability. Using Azure can be up to 93% more energy efficient and up to 98% more carbon efficient than using a traditional data center. Microsoft has been carbon neutral since 2012 and is committed to being carbon negative by 2030. By 2050, Microsoft will have removed all carbon emitted since its founding in 1975. You can find more information about sustainability on the Azure Sustainability page. In the next video of this series, I'll show you how you can estimate the cost of running your solutions. Before I wrap up, I'd like to invite you to join me at our weekly Azure Live Q&A session. During the 30-minute session, I will host an interactive and live Q&A to answer your Azure questions.